He lived a life weighed down by debt, a life so desperate that even walking into a store felt like a walk of shame. This is the powerful story of a man who changed just one thing in his life and transformed his entire existence. How did he do it? What was the secret that took him from desperation to freedom? Stay with me, because his journey holds a lesson that could change your life too. Every day, the same scene played out. A man, a simple day laborer, would walk into the local grocery store. His shoulders were always slumped, his head bowed low, his eyes fixed on the dusty floorboards. He tried to make himself small, invisible, but the shopkeeper's booming voice always found him. Well, well, here comes the one who lives on credit. The laughter from the other customers felt like stones being thrown at him. Each chuckle, each whisper was a fresh wound. He'd grab a few essentials, a loaf of bread, some milk, maybe a can of beans, and mumble his request to put it on his tab. The shopkeeper would sigh dramatically, scribble in a worn-out ledger, and the man would retreat, the weight of the world seemingly heavier with each step. His name was Arthur, though most people in town just knew him as the debtor. He wasn't a bad man. He worked hard, from sunrise to sunset, taking any job he could find. But life had a way of kicking him when he was down. A sick child, a leaky roof, a bad harvest one year. It all added up. The small loans became bigger ones. The friendly credit from the shopkeeper turned into a suffocating chain. He was trapped in a cycle he couldn't escape. He felt like he was drowning, and every attempt to swim to the surface only pulled him deeper. The shame was a constant companion, a shadow that followed him everywhere. He stopped looking people in the eye. He avoided social gatherings. His world had shrunk to the size of his debt. One evening, after another humiliating trip to the store, Arthur returned to his small, rundown home. He sat at his rickety kitchen table, staring at the meager food he had brought back. He wasn't hungry. The shame had stolen his appetite. He looked around at his life, the peeling paint, the worn-out furniture, the constant worry etched on his wife's face. He felt a profound sense of failure, a deep, gnawing despair that threatened to swallow him whole. What kind of man was he? What kind of future was he providing for his family? He was living, but he wasn't truly alive. He was just surviving, one day at a time, one credit at a time. That night, something inside him snapped. It wasn't a loud crack, but a quiet, firm decision that bloomed in the darkness of his despair. He couldn't go on like this. He wouldn't. The next morning, he walked out to the small patch of land behind his house. He found an old, empty wooden box. With a shovel, he dug a hole in the ground, a hole that felt as deep and dark as his own desperation. He placed the empty box inside and began to cover it with dirt. As he shoveled, he made a vow to himself, a silent, solemn oath whispered to the earth. He was burying his old life. He was burying the shame, the credit, the identity of the debtor. From that day forward, he swore he would never, ever live on credit again. Never again, he repeated, each word a pact with his own soul. This single decision was the turning point, a first step on a long and arduous journey. It wasn't magic. His problems didn't disappear overnight. In fact, life got harder before it got better. He and his wife started a strict budget. They ate simpler meals, mended old clothes instead of buying new ones, and found ways to make do with less. Arthur worked even harder, taking on extra jobs, working longer hours, his body aching, but his spirit renewed with purpose. Every spare coin, every single penny he could save, went towards paying off his debts. He started with the smallest ones, a strategy that gave him small, crucial victories. Each time he paid off a creditor, he would cross a name off his list, and a little bit of the weight on his shoulders would lift. The townspeople noticed the change. He still came into the store, but he no longer asked for credit. He paid for everything in cash, even if it was just a handful of coins. The shopkeeper was surprised, then impressed. The whispers and laughter slowly faded, replaced by a grudging respect. Arthur started to hold his head a little higher. He started to meet people's gazes again. He wasn't just working to survive anymore. He was working for his freedom. The journey was long. It took years of sacrifice, discipline, and relentless determination. There were times he felt like giving up, times when an unexpected expense threatened to derail everything. But then he would remember that empty box buried in his backyard. He would remember his vow. He was no longer the man who lived on credit. He was a man fighting for his dignity. Finally, the day came. It was years later. Arthur, now older, his hands more calloused, his face etched with the lines of hard work, walked into that same grocery store. He approached the counter, not with his head down, but with a quiet confidence. He pulled out a small, worn leather pouch and counted out the final payment for his long-standing tab. The shopkeeper took the money, looked at the ledger, and with a flourish, drew a thick line through Arthur's name, writing "Paid in full" next to it. It was done. The last chain had been broken. A strange feeling washed over Arthur. He thanked the shopkeeper, turned, and walked out of the store. As he stepped out into the sunlight, he did something he hadn't done in years. He stood up straight. He pulled his shoulders back, lifted his chin, and took a deep, full breath. For the first time, he felt the sun on his face not as a harsh glare, but as a warm embrace. He looked at the world around him, the bustling street, the clear blue sky, and saw it with new eyes. He was free. He walked through the town not as the debtor, but as Arthur. He walked tall, not with arrogance, but with the quiet dignity of a man who had conquered his own demons. He had learned the most powerful lesson of his life, a truth that had been forged in the fires of hardship. True freedom isn't about having a lot of money or owning vast possessions. It's not about wealth. True freedom is about owing nothing to anyone. It's the lightness of being that comes when you are the master of your own life, unburdened by the weight of obligation. His story is a testament to the power of a single decision, the strength of the human spirit, and the profound truth that the richest person is not the one who has the most, but the one who owes the least. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that aims to inspire and empower. See you in the next video. Bye.